Welcome back everyone. Today we are going to make a star using only driftwood and hand tools. Just a handsaw and a hot glue gun. Now if you don't have any driftwood laying around, you can easily go find some random twigs and sticks from your neighborhood and that'll work just fine. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I do have a lot of tutorials on how to make different types of stars, ranging from these ones made out of twine and glue, to these 5-point wooden stars, and even some 8-point stars now. So if you're interested in those projects, check out my channel, and if you like what you see, consider subscribing. Alright, let's get going. Oh, hang on, got my little buddy here today. Let's put this little guy over here. Don't ask. So what originally gave me this idea was this little twig right here. For whatever reason, a few weeks ago, I randomly started fidgeting and cutting this stick in half on a very sharp angle. I don't really know what I was up to, but I flipped this piece around, put it together, and I thought, you know, this kind of looks like it could be the point to a star. And then I started planning for this project. Now, for those of you that are new to woodworking, the type of saw that I'm using is called a pull saw. This is definitely the saw I would recommend for this project. If you use a regular saw, I think you're going to have a lot of trouble cutting these things. As a beginner anyways. I'm sure if you're a pro handsaw user, you could probably do anything. Anyhow, I've been trying to rack my brain about how I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing here, because a lot of it is just winging it. So once I figured out what angle worked, for example, this one I felt like the point was a little too wide. So on my next cut, I cut a little bit steeper and got a narrower point. But I was definitely just going by feel and winging it. I messed up a couple of them. But after that, I got the hang of it, and it was actually pretty quick to do. I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult and take a little longer, but it really wasn't that bad. I don't want you to get too caught up on what the angles are, because I think this is one of those projects where it doesn't have to be perfect, because it is very rustic using the driftwood and whatnot. And being that the driftwood isn't perfectly straight anyhow, if I were to give you some actual numbers for angles, they probably wouldn't work out simply because you're not dealing with straight lumber. Now, once I had all these pieces cut, oh, hang on, little buddy wants to help out here. Don't judge me. Now, once I had all these pieces cut, I put them together with masking tape and started trimming them so that they were all approximately the same size. This was one of the key steps to making this work properly. Once they were approximately the same size, I was able to start trying to line things up and seeing if I could get something that resembled a star. This was probably the most time-consuming part of it, actually. But we eventually started getting somewhere. Once I had an idea of where things were going, I started cutting those inner angles. Now this part was definitely a little trickier and took a lot of trial and error, but I eventually figured it out. I actually found that gluing them together at this point was beneficial just to make sure that everything lined up properly. At first I was just using masking tape, but it was moving around a little bit. So once I did that, everything was a lot more solid. And I just kind of continued taking smaller and smaller cuts off of here until it got things lined up. So with a combination of the pull saw, my carving knife, and some sandpaper, I was eventually able to get these joints to fit together quite nicely. So once I figured out what worked best, I basically just worked my way around the star until it was finished. So here it is all glued together. As you can see, I changed a couple of pieces there. Now, although the joints fit together quite nicely, they weren't perfect, and it was bugging me. So I decided to incorporate some twine. And this actually worked out quite nicely because I think the natural look of twine works quite well with driftwood, and it was actually pretty easy to apply. And here is the end result. Not bad. I haven't done this before. I think it's pretty good for my first try. I think, as always, there is room for improvement. I do live on the West Coast, so I have access to a lot of driftwood, so I wouldn't mind trying to improve on this. If you want to see some more DIY videos, check out my channel. I've got all sorts of things on there. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, and I always keep budget in mind. I didn't grow up with very much money, so I always try to be frugal and, well, savvy. Hence the name Savvy Builds. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.